Today I'm going to show you exactly how to build this nice and simple Gothic house using the Gothic Craft Structure Skins, which is a brand new premium custom cosmetic. I would definitely recommend using that cosmetic to build this because it's kind of designed with those skins in mind, so it might not look as good with other skins, or you'll have to do a few adjustments, especially for some of the windows, because, well, you might not have those options for other skins. But in general, it's a nice and cozy house with a nice first floor with a decent amount of space and lovely windows to enjoy the views around you, and of course another floor for maybe a bedroom or whatever. It's a small little house, but it is definitely got a lot of character and embraces the Gothic vibes. Hello there, survivors, and welcome back to another building guide in ARK Survival Ascended. As always, if you enjoy seeing builds like this and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the support, and if you've got any suggestions or ideas for future builds, leave them down in the comments below. And of course, to get started, we want to place down the foundations. Now, ideally, we want to get as high as possible to make it look the nicest. So either you can do this with foundations, or if you want to have an even nicer look, you could build it entirely on pillars so that you could start a little bit higher like this. So the option is yours, like the choice is yours. What we want to do is build a 4x5 foundation to work with. For this tutorial, I'm going to go for the pillar option. It also makes it easier because you can build it pretty much everywhere. And then what we want to do is we're going to make this 4 wide, of course, just like this. And then we'll build this outward until we have a 4x5. So of course we'll need to support this build, so we'll have to have some temporary pillars until we can put them down in the right places. The corners obviously are a good choice, and then over here we want to bring out this a little bit more. So now that it should be 4x5, and that means that we can just add the extra supports here in this corner. There we go, and then the whole thing should be properly supported. Now, this isn't the entire build yet. We want to also add something here on this corner. We want to build a little circle like this, so that's going to be a tower addition, and if we want to have some extra supports, you can add an extra pillar underneath that. And then over here on this side, we want to add these 3 triangles. There's going to be like a little extra window over here, and we can also just make sure to add some extra supports in by adding pillars below that part. And we can also build a proper entrance to this place. So this is going to be like the little entrance place, and then we're going to have the staircase right over here. So you can take out the stairs. Well, you can choose whether you just want to use normal stairs, or you can go for the staircase to get a little bit more shape in this build. And that, all in all, is, well, the footprint. Now, in the case you've done it also with pillars, of course, we need some walls to support this place. First of all, we want to actually take out a window frame. Add one here on this corner. We can add another on this one. And we're going to do that for these corners on this side. Over here, we want to add one right over there. We can add one here and one right there. Then we can have one on this corner again. We can have one in the very front over here, and then the rest we can take out on normal walls. And of course, we want to make sure that we no longer have any gaps to kind of watch or look into our building. So we want to just go around and make sure that we add in all of these walls to close off the shape we've made for our build. There we go. Oh, just one more over here. Yeah, we did everything. And we can take out our doors, and we can actually add in these little windows all the way around so that we can finish up the foundation. Of course, this is only applicable if you've actually built it out of ceilings and pillars, etc. For normal foundations, you don't need to do all of these extra details. Then we want to take out our courtyard stone skins. We can actually change a bunch of these to that skin, the pillar as well, the window. And we just basically want to go around the bottom layer here and change all these. If you're using the Gothic Craft Skins, of course, which I definitely recommend. It looks amazing, and it's kind of what this build was designed for. So yeah, we just want to go all the way around and apply these skins, and you'll see an amazing transformation. We can also change that ceiling right up there. And then we want to change the variance here in the window. So you can interact here, variance, and we want to use the thick window 1 or 2, whichever one you prefer more. Now, to save some time, I like to use the variance cycle tool, which is a separate mod you need to install, but it allows you to change variance a lot quicker, and it will just save a lot of time. I've got a dedicated video on that if you want to know more about this. And you'll have to install it, of course, on your single player or on your server. So unfortunately, on official, you'll still have to do it all by hand. And then the rest of these ceilings we can actually skin with the Gothic Castle skins, just so that we get the floors in right. And then you can change the variance to whatever floor you'd like to have on the inside of your building. But this is the shape that we're working with, and we can get started on building the actual house itself now. So we'll start right over here on this side of the building. We want to raise up these corners by 2 in total, and we'll change them to the castle skins right away. We can then take out all large stone walls. We can place 1 on each of the corners here. We can also change those to the castle stone skins. And then here at the sides, we want to start with this pattern. So 2 slope walls just like this. And obviously, we can continue that up the top as well. We can change these top ones with the castle skin. The bottom one here, you want to use the trim skin instead. And then if you want to, you can change the variant so that you have a nice little gargoyle standing out on the side of your build. And here at 4 high, we want to start filling in this wall again. So here, you can just change that to the castle skin. Then we take out the quarter walls and place 2 on each side here. Of course, we can also change the look of those. Then we can take out a wall again. We can place down the window, change this as well. And then finally, we have the slope walls all the way at the top of the building. And we actually want to use our trim skin again on the top ones, so that we get this cool shape. And then we can actually change the variance until we get the big one with the gargoyles sticking off to the sides. We can take out all half pillars here. We can add 1 over here and 1 right up there, and same over here. You can use the deco skins on those to get an extra bit of detail going. And then we can also take out our quarter walls again, turn them into railings, and add the railings off to the sides here. And then again, use the trim skins to get these kind of battlements going, which brings a little bit more depth to this wall. We can then, of course, also add in the actual window. We can also skin that with the castle skin and change the variance until we get the nice stained glass. We can change the window variant itself until we get this nice round option. And then we're almost done with the wall on this side. And for the remaining part of the wall, we want to fill it in with a gate. And of course, complete that all the way. And then we can use the castle trim skins again to change this into a proper window. We want to actually change the variance of the gate frame until we get the one that fits perfectly into the wall itself, as you can see. And then you could change the gate itself if you want different types of windows. But I'm going to keep it with this normal one for now, and that's going to be this end of the building. It looks quite nice in my opinion, but of course we've got a long way to go still. Then on this side, quite easy in the middle, we just want to raise it up by 3 in total. Then we want to take out our gateways again, place 2 of them next to each other, and we can add in the actual gates themselves. We can change these all to the castle skin, the trim skin for both of these gates and gate frames. And then of course we want to change this variant again until we got the one that blends in perfectly with the wall itself. There we go. And that's kind of all we need to do for now on this side of the building. Then over here on this side, we're going to add a doorway here, of course, so you can access that little tower. Then on top of that, we can kind of just continue this wall up. So it's going to be 4 high in total, of course. The other side here, we can use a large wall once again. And then, of course, we can connect the top bits. Off to the side, we can use these 2 slope walls. We don't want to have a slope wall on here because, well, the tower is still going to continue. But we will add the slope walls on the opposite side over here. We can then take out our quarter walls again and make sure that we can line up this window right here in the middle once more. And of course, end this with some more slope walls. We can add in the actual window, and of course we can change a bunch of this to the castle skins to get the right look going here, except the one here at the bottom. Of course, the rest we can all change to the castle skins. This is of course going to be the trim again. We can change the variant so that we get a little gargoyle, and of course what we can also do is make sure that we add in these pillars just like that, and we can change them of course to the castle skins to make sure that they blend in very nicely. We can take out our railings again, make sure that we add 2 over here and then just 1 over to the other side. We can change the version of the window of course to the right variant and add the stained glass on the inside. And actually the top ones of course we want to change to the castle trim so that we can change them to the large version with the nice gargoyle added. And then we want to have 2 little half pillars here with the deco skin on it to end that part. And then we can add the trims again on these railings. There we go. And you've got a choice here. Technically you could have another window here, but personally I think that gets a little bit busy. So what I would do instead, we can actually take out these walls and we can just save some structures and add 2 more large walls right next to each other, just like this. And then we should be able to change those skins, of course. So it's just going to be a blank wall. I think that makes more sense. But if you want to, of course, you could still add the big window there. The advantage, of course, of having this blanker wall does mean that we can add the staircase quite easily on this side. And we can start that actually from here. We can raise it up by 2. Then we can take out a ceiling up here, of course, and then continue it by 1 more, just so that we can reach the next level. And then we'll change this all to the castle skins just to look nicer. And we can take out our railings along the side here on the inside of the building. There we go. And here, of course, we can continue this wall with 2 extra ones. That's how tall this tower will be, so that we've finished that wall on this side too. And then all for the main building that is left, except for the roof, of course, is going to be this side of the building. To get started, of course, we want to add a double door right here in the middle. And above that, we can add 2 normal walls. We can change these all to the castle skins and, of course, change this variant quite like this, but there's a few cool variants for this one. We can of course also add our door, so we can skin that with the castle skin too, and then we have that section completed. We can take out a gateway, add it right next to it, and of course the gate itself, change those to the trim skins and change the gateway until we've got the right window again that blends in very nicely. And then here we adding in some extra windows to make kind of like a little window display or bay window. And have them 2 high, and for all 3 of these walls, take out all windows and of course fill these all in. And then we can also change the skins for all of these. There we go, so that we get the right look. Then first of all, we'll change these to be the actual window texture. I'm going to go for the simple one. You could go for stained glass if you really wanted to, of course. But for now, we're just going to change these. Then the bottom one, we're going to change until we get the big bottom of a nice window. We're going to do the same here. There we go. And again, change to that large window. And then we're going to add the top to this. And there we go. We can do that for all of these, of course. So just keep changing these variants until we've got all of these windows in place. There we are. And once we've done that, we can take out the roof. Then we take out our triangle roof pieces. We can add the 3 of them right here. And we can add in the village skins to add in a little touch of color. And then we can take out the quarter roofs. We can add 1 on the right side of each part of this roof. We can take out our village skins again. Add them all the way around. And then we want to change these variants until we get the full one to cover the entire width, just so you can save some structures. Of course, you could add two of them next to each other. And then behind this, we want to make sure that we add two full wall pieces here at the top. We can change them to the castle skins, of course, to make sure that they all blend in nicely, and that makes sure that you can still kind of use this staircase without any issue. If you want to make it look nicer on the inside, you can add some slope balls here. You can add the trim skin to them, just so that you've got a nice curved entrance into this little bay window, which looks a little bit nicer. And then, of course, we can take out our ceilings again. We can add them all the way along the edge here, but also, of course, around that staircase, and then all the way over to the other side. So we want to just fill this entire layer in so that we get the next floor of our building. We can take out the village skins for this layer. I think personally we want to bring in a little bit of wood. Of course, you could use the castle skins if you want to maybe use the carpet instead or something, but I like bringing in a little bit of that wood texture. And if you want to add some additional details, it could be nice to, with the trim set, add in some few extra supports. We could do the exact same thing here over on the other side. Again, the trim skins, just because it looks a little bit more supported if you do it like this. And yeah, it's just a nice look for it all. Then here on the inside, what you can choose to do is add some walls, just so that you don't have to face the shallow wall at the side of the building. I always find that's a little bit more easy to manage. And then we can even change these variations to get a little line across the top. It just looks a little bit nicer, in my opinion, if you have these, and it's more practical because you can use the full walls. And then, of course, we can take out our roof pieces, and we can kind of just fill in this roof quite normally. So we want to just bring up all of these layers until the middle here. So we've got 3 different layers for the roof. We can change them all with the castle skins so that we get this nice dark roof. And then the middle ones here, we can actually add a nice dormer window. I like to go for the big version, and then the second one I think fits this aesthetic quite well. So yeah, we can have 2 of those. You can change the sizes, as you've seen. There's quite a few of them, but I think this looks quite nice. And then also from the inside, makes a lot of sense with that wall we've just placed down. So then, of course, we can also continue that roof back down on the other side to complete at least the house section of this build. And again, we can finish all of these roofs just like this and add in those 2 windows. So 1 here and 1 over there. And then we want to take out our railings. We want to make sure to add them here along the top of the very roof, just like this. We can then add in the trim skin at the top. Looks a little bit silly now, but if we keep changing the variant, we'll get these nice railings. And that's what we want to have across the top, to get some nice spiky bits sticking out from the very top. I love these, absolutely. And there we go. That is the main house portion done. But then, of course, we still have the side here, and especially the tower to work on. Then for this tower, we want to raise up these 2 back walls by 2. We want to change to our windows. We can add 2 over here, 2 over here. And we can actually add 3 right over here in the middle. Then we can have some normal walls to finish the rest of this layer. Then we want to flip the walls around for this next layer. So all of them, we want to make sure they're flipped inside out, basically. Then we can have a layer of normal walls again, so we can kind of just flip them back. And then once again, we have a layer of them being flipped the other way, just like this. And that's because we can skin this in a nice way. So first of all, let's skin the very top layer. And the top ones, we want to change the variant so that we have this little edge at the top layer. Then we can change the skins of the next 2 layers to the castle skins again. And then once again, we can change the variant. But this time, we want to make sure that the detail is at the bottom of these walls and all the way around, of course, so that we get some nice detail going for these windows. And then we also want to make sure that we add in the actual windows all the way around the building so that we can change those skins next. First, we'll take out the courtyard stone skins and we can change this layer all to these so that it kind of sets it apart. And we can also change the variant inside here to one of those nice decorative stones. And then we can take out our castle skins for the remaining 2 layers, including all of these windows in the tower. There we go. And then of course we want to make sure that we change these to be actual window textures all the way around. And well, again, you have a lot of options, but probably just going to go for the default one if I don't miss them every time. And once we have done that for all of these, if I don't keep misclicking, then we can of course change these windows. And we want to have some narrow windows here, so we're going to go for this variant, but we're going to make them tall, and I went too far, but then at least you can see all the options. But yeah, we want to have these nice tall windows, so we want to make sure that we can add these in for all 3 sides, just to make sure that if you're using this room you have some nice windows to look out from. There we go. So that is pretty much that entire tower skinned. And then we can work here on the very top of the roof. We can take out our triangle roofs. We want to almost skin or place down all of these. First of all, we want to then take out a pillar. We can use a little half pillar. We can place that down. We can use that snap point to place an artifact pedestal on, just like this, because we're going to need that. And of course, if you want to make this look a little bit nicer, you can change it into one of these skins. I use the deco skin on that because I think that looks probably the best. And then we can fill in the last triangle roof. We can change these roof skins, of course, so they look very nice. And then we want to take out our little quarter roof pieces. I don't know if this one is actually possible on official settings because I think it might slightly overlap, unfortunately, but you can at least try, I suppose. So this one over here, we actually want to use this snap point because it doesn't want to give it otherwise. I don't know if that... Yeah, I think that might slightly overlap. So check on official if you can use this or not. But otherwise, yeah, unfortunately, you can't have the little eaves sticking out. Well, you could do it everywhere else except for that corner, I suppose. Just to still get a pretty decent look. So we want to, of course, change these to the roof skin with the castle skin. There we go. And then once again, we can change the variants so that we get this little eave on the edge of the tower, which already is going to make it look quite nice. There we go. We want to do that all the way around, of course, just so that the tower looks a little bit better. Then we can take out our trophy mounts. We can add one here. We can add another one right there. And then this one in the middle, we want to make sure that we have slightly higher than the other two. We can use our deco skin on all of these. And you can change them to whatever skin you like best. The side ones, I think, are pretty fine. But here we want to have basically something bigger. So maybe something like that would be a nice one. And then for these sides, probably something like this so that it sticks out a bit more. But as I say, there is a lot of options here. So you can kind of pick your favorites. This one's also pretty cool to use. So you can kind of just pick and choose which ones you like. But you see, adding those statues just adds an extra layer of depth. And then we also want to use the deco skin all the way at the top here. And you can see you get some really nice options if you do that. There's actually a ton of cool versions to pick from, so you can kind of just see which one do you like the best for your building. There is a ton of options, including some very big ones. You probably don't want to go for any of those. That doesn't really quite fit the vibe here, but something like this does look quite nice. And then here off to the side, we can also add in a little bit of a well, overhang. I use this as like part of a little market stall, but you can use this for whatever you want. We just want to add these quarter ramps off to the sides. I personally would change these to the village tier, all of them, and then of course change these variants so that it actually looks like the proper nice green roof, and you can see that fits in quite nicely, matches the roof that we use over there. And then we want to use our thin pillars, find this snap point and snap that into the ground. So we're going to do the same thing over here and just make sure that these are actually connected to the ground. And then of course we can change them also to the village tier just to make them look nicer. And that's how we have a little bit of an extra addition to that part of the build. And there we go. That is how you build this nice cozy Gothic house with these new Gothic Craft custom cosmetic skins. It's a nice little house, doesn't take too much to build, quite easy, but I think it looks quite nice with all the added details. And if you really wanted to, of course, you can add a ladder in the tower and use multiple layers, but it's a pretty small tower, so it's more for like the decorative addition of having it. So yeah, we can enter the house here. We have our first floor with a decent amount of space in here, including a little extra room off to the sides. You could, of course, connect another one up to this layer if you really want to. Like you could have another door right here, so you could enter that and add another floor. Then you don't even have to have a ladder. So what you might want to do is just change this wall to a little door instead, and then you could have your triangles here so that you could have another floor here if you really wanted to. So that's up to you, of course, but you might as well utilize this space, have a little bit of extra storage, a toilet, or whatever you want to change it into. It's relatively easy to add all that. And then of course over here, what we also want to do is make sure that we add in these railings so you don't fall down the stairs all the time. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's how you built this cozy little Gothic house. Quite simple, but I think it does the trick, and it's definitely a nice addition, whether you just want one little house to get you started with, or maybe you're also going to work on a whole city full of them. Anyway, if you enjoyed this build tutorial and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you really like to see down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again in the next video or the next stream. For now, goodbye.